Welcome you to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan, and I'm excited for today's guest. I have Rah Lowry, Excelius Art. If you have seen the flyers for Porch Fest over the past 4 years, you've seen his art. And he's my guy. I use him if I have an event where I need something done. He's my guy. Rah, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. What's going on? How's everything, Alan?
Man, it's anticipation's building up, dude. It's January, Porch Fest comes in April. And man, that's like it's like my Christmas to the community, man. That's like it's the most fun planning and when it's finally here, I just love it, dude.
Yeah, man, it's a lot that goes into planning an event. Like it's for you to be the curator, it's a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah, and this is the first year where I mean even like you and I connecting, like last year I kind of put you in a bind, kind of rushed you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
you got
like
me on that one.
last year's planning, dude, it was so ridiculous because like I didn't start it till 3 months out. But this year I took 6 months and I was like, this is the way, you know?
I mean, yeah, that outside planner really does give you some time to actually like finalize some things and it gives you some slack, a little bit of leeway, just in case things go this way, things go that way, kind of have a little bit more time to play with the finalization of everything, especially when it comes to the event. So events are like not easy because it's open to the public.
Yeah. hmm And like there is the littlest things, especially if it's a public event. If you like, let's say you needed more bathrooms and you forgot to get somebody to bring in porta potties, that could be a
Yeah,
mess.
man, that definitely is a thing. I've never curated a full event by myself to say I have to actually bring in porta potties and like call a sanitation company to bring me a porta potty. That's a lot.
Yeah. And I remember like just some of the events that we've helped do at the Trotter, like they would ask us to come out and do the beer for the event and kind of help host it. And man, just some of the loops you have to go through as far as just like going through the city and the state to make sure everything is completely legal and that you're not
Yeah,
breaking any
man.
rules.
It's a lot of phone calls and voicemails and contracts.
Yeah. What is it? What's it like on your end? Like when I hit you up, I mean, I guess we got two variations of this. One to where you didn't have a whole lot of time, and on like this one, we had a couple of months to kind of sit down and plan this one. Like, I guess you probably like to have the time to be able to sit down and take your time and not be rushed on it.
I
But
mean,
there's probably two different approaches on it though.
it's never an issue when somebody comes with an idea that they just sprung up overnight or sprung up over the last couple weeks and they finally were able to get it down to words and like fully plan it out how they want it. Um, it's never an issue. It's just kind of meeting you where you want to be met, more or less, like meeting you what you see in your head and trying to be able to put that on paper.
Yeah.
Like the last one, that one was kind of fun because it more so had to do with you. So I got to, blow up your head and like play with your features and stuff like that. So that was actually
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I had a
But this
treehouse
one,
coming out my noggin.
yeah, it worked,
Yeah.
definitely worked. But this one I like where you went with the idea because it was able for me to incorporate a lot of different ideas of how I've met you in different
hmm
settings and whatnot. So it was able to kind of bring a lot of your personality and what I can kind of see of what you're going with the Porch Fest idea. So this
hmm
one, I feel like it was a lot of more of your personality into the sketch. So
I'll
being
do
able to have
that.
the time for this one was pretty cool.
Yeah. And even like the personality to Munson and Brothers came out as well with the rustic
Yeah.
cabin. And I mean, like we're all kind of we're cut from the same cloth. I mean, we do kind of all have that same kind of personality or vibe or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
this is the atmosphere that we want to create.
Yeah, man. It's that chill, laid back cabin. It's that area where, the outside wonders and worries of the world kind of flow to the side a little bit. Kind of just sit back, put your feet up and just kick back for a minute. So I kind of really wanted to bring that into this flyer.
Yeah, man. And knocked it out of the park. If you follow either of us on the socials. You probably caught the image of it. I've put it up on everything, and man, it's really knocked it out of the park, man. Once again, I mean, just everyone is just so happy about it, and like being able to share it this week, man. It's like, man, it got people hyped. People were texting and be like, "Man, this is awesome. This is the best flyer. This is cannot wait." And I was like, "My man, killed
I'm
it."
glad you like it, man. I'm really glad you like it.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like if Munson was to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go buy a cabin in Colorado tomorrow," it would look
that's
something
it.
like that. Like just
Yeah,
randomly, like this. Forget the amount of money, forget where it's at. None of that. It's just like I feel like that kind of brings about that aspect of brotherhood, you know.
yeah, dude. Hey, what about like what you got going on now? You stay pretty busy with your art and everything you're doing with that?
Yeah, man. I'm stuck between a lot of commissions and stuff coming in and dad life, you know,
Oh
trying to
yeah, dude.
split between I have stuff people have ready to get paid for. I will put it on your podcast. I was not gonna post it, but I guess it is time for me to mention something about it. I am back to tattooing. I have
Oh,
officially, yes. I got I got a call from a really, really close friend of mine from the time I was like 13. And his daughter wants her first tattoo. Well, her second tattoo. And she, and I just a couple of people been hit me up about it just for me to get back into it. I started designing some stuff very recently for a couple close friends of mine, and they got some stuff done. And I just getting slack from it. It was like, oh, I just wish you would have done it. I want you to get back into it. So now that COVID is officially over, because that is why I stopped tattooing, because my first son was born during the pandemic. So I had to
right,
fully stay away from anything social at all. And I was working in the hospital in the ER at the same time. So I had to fully disconnect from the outside world aside from work until work shut down, you know. But
right.
I'm back to it. Just a lot of commissions now, just between tattoos and logos and just a lot of commissions coming off the back. So just balancing that stuff out with just dad life,
Yeah.
living in a state where I have no family whatsoever. So
Yeah, man. And you kind of
yeah,
bounced around. You got family in New York State and down in Florida, right?
no, I don't
Or
have any
Georgia?
family down in Florida. A lot of
Is
my
it
family's
Georgia?
in Georgia. Yeah, between New York and Georgia. I lived in Miami as let's just say a catalyst to my upbringing. You know, it was a whole situation. But Florida was pretty cool. Lived out there for a good minute, but no family down in Florida anymore. A lot of my family is just
What made you want to get down that way?
surfing. Well, if you ask about it, an ex-girlfriend. I was still in New York at the time, and I just needed to get back out of New York. I was tired of being there. I was looking to more so progress, obviously getting older because I'm from there. So to go back there after a certain amount of time, living there, living elsewhere, and seeing different parts of the United States, places where you can live, what it's like to live elsewhere. It's not the stress, it's not the hustle and bustle. Somebody explained to me one time as a kid, leave New York as young as you can because you're going to get caught in a trap where you're
Oh,
trying to make enough money to live, but you don't make
dude.
enough money to leave, you know?
Yeah, it's like a
And
big trap.
yeah, like I seen my
Dude.
uncle, he's an architect, and I spent a lot of time working with his company up there, and it progressed my artwork. But I used to see him pay $17 a day to cross the bridge from the Bronx into Manhattan, and then $17 a day going back. So every
Mhm.
time he crossed the bridge was $17 every single day.
34,
So
34. Come on.
so it was just like, man, it gave me like a wake up call because it was just like, dude, I don't want to do that. So I ended up the girlfriend and just ended up having an opportunity to move to Florida, had an opportunity to go to college. And I was like, well, why not capitalize on the opportunity? Don't turn
There
down
you go.
something that's at your feet and somebody's willing to give you scholarships to go to school. Why turn it down? Gets you out of New York, whole another environment. You never been there,
That was
just
the
run with it. I was young, so hey.
I hear you, man. That's really like the story. I come from a small town just across the state line, Kennedy, Alabama. And
Hey, I've been there. I've been there.
yeah,
I've been there. I can officially say I've been there. Word.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's usually you blink, you miss it, right? But man, there's always a saying when you get old enough to drive about that place is it's similar to what you said about New York. Is as soon as you get out of this high school, run and go and run as far as you can, or you'll never get
Word.
out. And it's not that it's a trap or that it's a bad thing. I mean, I have guys that I went to high school with that picked up and did what their dad did. And I think, they're honoring their parents and the land that they grew up on, and I think that's
Yeah.
great. But,
Yeah.
that ain't for everybody. And
Definitely agree. Definitely agree.
man, and I've been fortunate enough to like I lived in Tuscaloosa for a short time, Mobile, uh Columbus, now Starkville. I mean, I've kind of been uh all over the place with that, and uh every place is so different, and it don't matter how close it is. But like going from like New York City down to Florida, man, that had to be like a culture shock almost.
Nah, man, not even. Not even. I mean, I feel like places in the South, I've been to a lot of places you spoke about. So for my experience, it seemed not a lot like the same area, but it didn't seem too much of a different space of if you've been out there before and you're from that area, you can acclimate yourself to it.
Yeah, you
From New
can
York to
adjust.
Florida, it wasn't really much because I didn't go straight from there. I lived when I was younger, I moved to Georgia.
Hmm.
And then I had went back to New York on my own, as a teenager, obviously way against my mother's will. But I had a reason to move up there. My grandmother had gotten a little sick, so I was able to convince her, my mother, I need to be up there to help take care of her because my mom is a teacher, so obviously she couldn't do it. So I talked myself into that one. And then once I started working in a tattoo shop, I talked myself into not having to go back. So it was kind of a me playing around with the scenario type thing. But going from New York to Florida, I had been down there a bunch of times. New York is like Florida, except Florida is hotter. There are beaches. Well, there are more beaches and there's more parking. That's
Hmm.
the only difference. It's the same amount of people. There are a lot of people from New York down there. And the price of living is the exact same. There's no difference except there's parking for your car
Right.
versus New York, you have to park on the street. My uncle moved from New York to Florida, and he was just like, I should have never moved down here. I was just like, yeah. He had the full experience of it's the same price for living. The apartments are the same price. Food is the same price. The cost of living is the exact same price. There's no difference at all. It
Yeah.
was fun, obviously, because I was younger and I was in college, living down in Miami, college. That's yeah, think about it. That's the life right there. That's pretty cool. I was
Where else
having
would
some
you want to
fun.
be, man?
Oh, exactly.
Because I
But
remember like man, spring break when I was in college. I mean, there was like you had Cozumel, Miami, Panama City.
yeah,
Th
CPBC and all of
those
that. Yep, yep,
yeah,
yep.
those were the hot spots, man. And like I mean, you would just hear all these stories of those who had came before. So like, yeah, Miami, dude. I
Yeah,
know it was
Miami is the
popping.
spot to be. Yep. But the thing is, it's so different being a tourist somewhere and actually living somewhere. And that's the thing that I think people get caught up with when it comes to just wanting to travel all the time. When you have to actually settle somewhere and consider, okay, I have to make this place I have to make this an opportunity aside from
Hmm.
I'm just a tourist. It becomes different. You have to get involved with certain things. You have to actually become a person up there, to like actually thrive and stuff. So it's a little bit different. Like I hear a lot of people tell it they want to go to New York so bad. Like I would love to be in New York. And it's like, if you can imagine having to move your car at 6 o'clock in the morning to not get a ticket because the garbage sweeper truck is coming by, or you're going to get a 50, 60, $100 ticket. It is a whole scenario. It's just like, it seems fun until you live there, you
Yeah, I
know?
had he's an artist. He's from down around Jackson, Mississippi, and he thought he wanted to go to New York. And he did a whole bunch of street art while he was there. He'd paint what he saw with
Mm-hmm.
He do a lot of watercolor. And I bought this one. And I got to put the art up on the walls here, but he it was just a piss bottle on the street, and he just sat right there on the street and drew it. And I was like, "It's just piss, huh?" He was like, "Man, when I moved up to New York, I was just so captivated and fascinated by the city." But he was like, after 3 months in, like what you're saying, reality started hitting, and like the realization that I wasn't a tourist anymore really sat in, and I ended up living in my car for a short period of time before I was like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
You know?
I mean, a lot of people like a lot of people that is still their dream. Like I remember as a kid, obviously I grew up in the 90s. So, people still had that American dream of like go to New York, go to Ellis Island, You would still hear that from people. I would hear from people in my school where they would come from different areas. It's like, we finally made it to New York. And it's just like, as I got older, I was just like, man, I am thankful and I am blessed enough that I have been able to live different places in the United States where I know that is not like the one place to be. Because I still have family members who like refuse to leave because they're like, well, what are you gonna do down in a place that doesn't have a major city? And it's just like the same thing you would do in a place who has a major city. Live, you
Hmm.
know, live life, find out different stuff, different areas and stuff. Like I've spent a lot of time traveling on the West Coast and some people in New York, it's just like, well, I can't go out to California. It's just like, why? It's just
Yeah.
another state.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that. Like I've traveled and do this podcast a bit, and I might spend a weekend down in Hattiesburg or over in Birmingham. And granted, I've hung out there enough to think I would be all right. And then when I travel more, like, there was periods of time to where I just thought there were places in the country where uh the music scene was something I really thought I wanted to be a part of and chase. Like not moving to Nashville or in Austin, but other little hot pockets of, in the country. I'd be like, I'd like to give it a shot out there. And I would always just talk myself out and like just back to how we opened. And I was like, why am I fantasizing about all these different cities and their culture when we could just build it right here?
Yeah.
We can have what we want.
I
It
mean,
it
yeah, you
may t
definitely can.
it may take some years. Hmm? Uh, whatever you get. That'd be fun.
He's talking to a ghost. There's nobody
Yeah,
on the screen. He's talking to a
yeah.
ghost.
We getting the DoorDash orders in. But yeah, dude, and it may take years, but I think it's worth it. And it's always crazy, like I mean, I just think about like what Munson's done at Munson Brothers and like really curating and building
Yeah, man.
such a cool place.
I
And
can
it
definitely agree to
and like I was like, man, that's really inspiring. And I was like,
that.
we need 100 of people like him, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. Like I can say I've seen Munson from a couple different changes from when I first moved here in 2021 and I met you guys and you guys invited us over to come down and check it out. It looked completely different. So to see what it's become like to now, like yeah, that's dope. Like when I
Yeah.
told some of my cousins, we just brought one of Bree's cousins there recently, and he was just like, yo, I can definitely see what they're doing here. It's like one of those things where not to say the place doesn't have a lot, but to be able to bring a community of people together from different facets of life. Like you have Air Force dudes in there. You have people just who work in the city randomly. You just have the everyday Joe Schmo who comes in and just, hey, I'm coming to get a pizza. Like the way they've brought everybody together on different levels is pretty cool. Because just from me moving to Mississippi, obviously I'm not from here. Of course, around the nation, Mississippi gets a bad rep. So
Hmm.
it's like when I tell people, like, nah, man, I'm hanging out this place. It's like, well, what place? Where do you live? It's just like, no, I live on the state line, literally. Like, there's nothing out here, but it's just this cool place. It's like, well, what? I'm like, yeah, no, you're not gonna understand it, but you gotta go. Like, you gotta see what it looks like inside. Like it's a
Yeah.
huge soccer field outside. It's like, what are you talking about? It's just like, no, you got to see it. Like you got to go there. You got to see it. It's not gonna make sense until you see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man, I really do appreciate that what they're doing over there.
And we've had just through doing this and through the Columbus Art Council, even through Munson Brothers, is we've been inviting people down from like Nashville or different different pockets of the country. It's like, uh, you ever heard of Columbus, Mississippi? Uh-uh. Come down here and give us a shot. Come play for us. And and it's always the same thing. Like after they came and played Friday, and maybe they had booked something up in Tupelo on their way back to wherever they got to go. And they'll always write. It's like, like this was really a stereotype buster weekend because like all the things that, I've heard about Mississippi and
Yeah, it
the
just proves them
people.
completely ass backwards. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, might have to go back there.
Yeah. And I mean they do. They come back and like sometimes they're not even booked to play. If they're just free, they just come back to hang out. And I was like, that's wild to me. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
telling you, man,
glad
they're
that
doing
I'm
something pretty good over there. They
yeah,
really
I'm
do
glad
something
that
pretty good up at Munson.
yeah. And shout out to him, man. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. Have a little have a little bit in there.
Yeah, man. We
It's
should have did it over at Munson. Now that I think about it, like we could have did a podcast over there, or you could have came over here to the studio. I really didn't think about it, but
I
then
didn't
I remembered that you live over in Starkville now. You just moved all the way, just left us over here.
just
Just
ran off
moved
20 miles away.
60 miles away, just so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just thought about
Dude,
that.
if
We could
y'all
have
are
did that there.
free tomorrow evening, you want to come to the open mic down at Munson's.
Packing to do. Bree's birthday is on Sunday. No, sorry, Tuesday. So we're gonna go out of
Uh,
town this weekend. Go do
Fair
some
enough.
stuff. Shoot up probably to Atlanta. Might do a little bit of hiking. We would think about getting a cabin.
Oh, that's cool. Like
Yeah, yeah.
out at what is that? Stone Mountain up around that?
No, Stone Mountain is in the city of Atlanta, pretty much. I usually shoot a little further out, Appalachian wise, a little past Amicalola, up toward like the Blue Ridge, like Bardstown Ball. So
Oh.
more scenery, more hiking, more hills, more
How'd you
scenery.
find that place?
I do a lot of hiking. Used
Really?
to hike a lot before we had the kids. Bree and I have been to probably at least 20 of Georgia state parks and a couple up between South Carolina and out west. So, a lot of hiking,
Cool, man.
a lot of
Man, how'd
hiking.
y'all get into that? Or you just always was, I just need to be outside?
Always like hiking. I just always
Yeah.
had a thing for hiking, man. Used to do it as a kid, like being in the woods, being in the creeks and stuff, especially when we moved to Georgia. There was a lot more hiking experiences for us. So, well, for me at least. And then I just got into it. I remember uh I would say one of Brie and I's first dates together. I took her to the mountains, like fully all the way up into the mountains. Opened my trunk and I had just hiking gear. So it's like we're going hiking today. That's what we're doing. So I
That's
want to show
awesome,
you
dude.
something. So kind of got into it from there. Well, she got into it from there, more or less. I was already into it.
Yeah,
So
man. And
I can say,
before long, man, it's gonna be a party of four up there, dude. The little one's gonna be
yeah,
growing up, getting into it.
yeah. I took them to what's the park out here? Plymouth Bluff. I took them to Plymouth Bluff. They got to walk around there a little bit just to
Oh
get a
yeah.
little feel for the hiking experience and stuff.
You ever go to the
So
refuge?
haven't been there. What's the refuge?
So it's the Knoxville County Refuge. It's
Oh
just south
man,
of Starville.
dude, I have a whole story for you at that place. Jesus, man.
Alligator involved?
Yes, man. Yes. So, you know my black car,
Mm-hmm.
my black Civic. Drove that. Bree was, I think we had just found out she was pregnant, or right before she found out she was pregnant with our second son, Zen. Rah was in his carrier. I have a full camping carrier for him. We went, we walked around, we seen it. I was like, oh, okay, park is pretty cool. Took my camera, walked out onto a couple of the little docks that go out far out. And as we're coming back, there are a couple people at the end of the dock. and they have cameras and stuff, and they're like, oh, uh everybody something something the big one whatever, and I wasn't really paying attention to them, and I asked one of the guys like, why is everybody joining up? They were like, oh, the big alligator everybody's been looking for is right over there behind that car. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, yeah, no, y'all be careful, don't walk in the parking lot, you might scare him. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Hmm.
where is he in the parking lot, or like how big is it? They were like, oh, he's like 15 feet. I
Good
was like,
Lord.
what's 15 feet? They were like, the alligator. It's like, huh. So
That's
where
two
is he?
cars.
They were like, yeah, he's behind that black car, like that little black car over there. I'm like,
My
what little
car?
black car over there? I was like, wait. On the side of the parking lot, they're like, yeah, he's right behind the bank. I got pictures of him, man.
Oh, that's
Dude,
wild, dude.
about 15 feet. I kid you not. I was just like, okay, I am not coming back to this park anymore.
That's where the Florida man had to come out in you.
Nah, that's a dude. That's a W. I'm not. That is outside of my realm of comfortability. Like I don't mind wild animals. For Bree's 25th birthday, I actually hiked a waterfall. I know about a hidden waterfall over in the Smithgill Woods, and I hiked this waterfall. Literally almost died because I went up a branch and the branch snapped as I was coming down.
Ah,
So she got it on camera. Like I literally almost died. She was screaming for dear life because we hiked in the woods. So if we would have called the cops or the police, it would have took them a minute to get into the park and then where we went and stuff.
dude, I'll tell you this
Luckily,
is like one thing that I'm thankful for, like with these phones, is like I think for situations like that, that being able to drop a pin,
yeah,
that,
it will
that
help
is
out.
that is
Some
a
phones
game
now
changer.
have like you can like if they crash or get hit hard enough, it sends out an emergency shock that will alert 911 to alert you to a crash or something.
That's how a friend of mine was able to find his girlfriend a couple months
Really?
ago during a bad, like it rained real hard that day, and she was leaving North Mississippi back down to Starkville. And
Oh,
so,
damn.
45A, it got to raining so hard that she couldn't see, and she ran off the road. And like where she went off, that little truck she was driving, it was just you couldn't see it unless you knew where to look
It
and
flooded
what
that bad?
exactly. Yeah, dude. Like,
Damn.
and she was like so close to a creek. Like she almost went off into like, which could have been dramatically worse.
Yeah, ditch. Like everywhere out here is like ditches. Like it's
Hmm.
just ditches in the road.
Yeah, you got to pay attention, dude. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude. But
See,
if it
I
wasn't for
paid
that,
attention. See, I paid attention in the park. I paid attention what the people were saying. I've never seen an alligator that big in my life. But
hmm
that was the last hiking I did in Mississippi. I'm not hiking out here no more. I'm good. Nope. I
I
am good.
I don't do it really this time of year, but some days when I get off work, I'll go out there. I've seen two alligators. I certainly haven't seen one that big, but I like to go out there to
Man,
unwind.
let me see if I got a picture of him. I can show you a picture that I got of this guy.
He's the size of two Honda Civics, man. I get it.
It was just uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Oh, I got him right here.
Let's see what we got.
Hold on. Well, you can't see him right there. This is his face.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a big boy. Yeah. Yeah, I see like that's about a quarter of him. Yeah, there's some more.
It's
Oh yeah.
blurry because of the camera. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
never
a
mind.
big boy.
Yeah, man, I was not too happy to see him just randomly sitting there. Here we go.
I took they got a fake alligator out there.
Now he was
And
real. He moved. I saw him
yeah.
move. I was very uncomfortable
But
with it.
I had a buddy of mine. He studies here at State. He's from Egypt, and I took him out there one day, and like the whole way down there, I was just freaking him out a little bit. I was like, they got gators out there. And he's like, I ain't never seen a alligator. I've seen a crocodile. I ain't never seen an alligator. I was like, yeah, dude, they're pretty dinosaur looking things, man. You think we might see one? Building that hype up, and I slowed down right when I was coming up on that fake one. And I was like, oh my God, dude, look at that. I thought he was gonna come out of his
Oh,
skin.
I know what you're talking about. The one that's posed up on the side of the by the
Uh-huh.
lake. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. The mouth is open super wide. I
Uh-huh.
realized he was fake because when we went there, a bunch of kids had put pine cones in their mouth and it didn't move. I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, they're about to get eaten!" And it didn't move. I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh wait, that's fake." Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Right by the turn. Yep, I know
Uh-huh.
exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
That's pretty funny.
he did. I thought he was gonna get a little violent on me after that. I wouldn't have blamed him, I don't guess.
I mean, that's called panic. That's called fear, man. Like fear is something that will like it will change a person. If
Oh,
somebody
it's
experiences true fear, a real person, their real personality will like come out, and it's just like you don't know what you're gonna do.
you ever mess with like caves or caverns?
Yes, I've been in a couple caves. I've been in a couple caverns. Actually, while Bree was pregnant, we went to this. It's called Devil's Den. I think it's in Arkansas. No, it's in Oklahoma. But I have family who lives on the Arkansas Oklahoma border on the reservation. So we went to the spot called Devil's Den, and the cave was literally like knock a hole in your wall at like 4 feet high and then just crawl in.
Oh,
It wasn't, you can walk in, you can move around, it's just crawl straight in. And as you
mm,
crawl back to the back of it, they had cave paintings. They were old ancient cave paintings. So as you laid on your back, you could look up and see them on the top of it. But it
oh,
wasn't high enough for you to even sit up like with your legs crossed. Like you could only crawl in on
oh
your hands
man.
and knees. It
Well, I
was
bet that
crazy.
would drive some people crazy if they were like claustrophobic.
Yeah, yeah. I took my mom hiking that day. She was not going in it. She would not go in it. And it didn't go that far back. You could actually see the outside. Just laying on your back. But
It's almost like getting a CAT scan, huh?
exactly. Like you could literally see your feet, but it took you far in enough. It was actually pretty cool. But cave caverns, I've been in a few. Can't say anything extreme where I had to use ropes and anything like that.
Yeah, that what was it? It was James Franco. Was it 48 hours where the guy had his arm stuck and he ended up like having to uh practically like saw off his own arm or he would have been stuck, and it was out west, like maybe Arizona. Do you remember that story?
Mm-mm.
This has been years ago. It's
No,
probably 10, 15 years ago. I was like, man, that I tried to watch that movie, dude, and I was like, man, it just drove me nuts.
James Franco. Are you a scary movie fan?
Yeah, but like it's that real crap like that. Cause man, I remember growing up, man, we spent a lot of time on like we would go to Walmart or a Dollar General and we would buy the cheapest tubes or floaties that we could
127
find.
hours.
120, yeah, 127 hours.
That's the name of the movie. I just
Yeah, that
looked it up.
movie's wild, dude. It kind of reminded me of what you were talking about, like with that, only like
I'll have to
he
check it
was the
out.
type that would use ropes and all that. But yeah, he got his arm caught and he had to it was either lose an arm or lose your life.
Damn. I always tell people who get in those situations, it's just like, what mental state do you have to really put yourself in to really have to dismember part of your body in order to save your own life? Because you see in the
What?
movie so often, people are like, oh, I'll know off my arm, or I'll just like hack my arm off. It's like, what mental state do you really have to be in? And what are the things you really have to consider
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
hey, I'm going
Uh,
to dismember part of my body?
well, it's also like the stereotype, like I mean, we all do it, but take your horror film, your Texas Chainsaw or Halloween or
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th, and it's like, man, you are running through the woods and tripping over every root and vine, and that dude is just walking hard, and he just comes up on you. That wouldn't happen to me, but I really think that, like
Yeah.
you hit on it earlier. It's like when real fear takes over, you're not in control, dude.
Yeah,
Like you're
you're
some
not.
kind of
It's just,
instinctual animal.
I mean, it's instinct and it's that fight or flight. Like everybody's born with that fight or flight. Like with,
Mhm.
for instance, Michael Myers, for instance, how? people just I'm gonna take off running, but I'm gonna just decide I'm cutting through the woods, or I'm gonna just bang on
Hmm.
everybody's door. And it's always setting a non-realistic aspect because nowadays, cell phones and stuff, like there's no way you're gonna be running down the street and this dude is just chasing you and there's this many people and
Right.
he's still gonna catch you. Like I'm just walking away. But at
Hmm.
the same time, hey, nobody ever decide, hey, I'm gonna run into a police station with this random guy chasing me.
Yeah.
That would probably stop a lot of things. I think that
Yeah.
would clear up a lot of that whole movie series. Done. We're
Yeah.
done.
Or even like the whole I know what you did last summer, with,
You
Ghostface
know,
Killer, man. Like that,
I've seen
those
that
were
movie
those
one
were
time.
wild.
One time. I've only seen that one time. One time.
Well,
And
you
I don't
remember the
even
whole
remember it.
Oh, I was about to say, I don't know if you have any
Don't even
interest, but
remember it.
what made it interesting was it was always changing who it was. Like you might like most horror movies, you can kind of guess the plot. You can almost like
Who was gonna be,
guess the
yeah.
order in which people are going to go out in and who's going to survive. And like you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
you can do that, especially like if
Yeah,
you've
because
watched
there's
a
so much
few.
foreshadowing. It's just
Yeah,
like I know you're gonna die. Like it's
yeah,
just it's
yeah,
common sense for you to die.
yeah. And I mean, there's every archetype of like you got the stoner guy. You go through and you'd be like, okay, he's kind of lovable. He'll probably be one of the last to go.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I like I like more so psychological and supernatural thrillers and horror movies versus like the slasher type, because the
Hmm.
slasher type is just like I already know the killer's either gonna get away or he's gonna die and be somebody we already knew who was gonna be. So it doesn't
Hmm.
just like really, you know. But when it's like demonic, scary horror movies, that kind of I feel like it really incites that like okay, shit,
Yeah.
what would you do in this aspect? Because you can, hey, a demon's haunting your house. I'm gonna go leave the house because most people say, hey, dolls moving around the house. Excuse my French, but F it. I'm leaving the house. And then you go to somebody else's house, and now their house has an issue. So it kind of leads you to that mindset of like, oh shit, okay, now what would you really do? Because you can run away from a killer all day long, but
Yeah.
think about Annabelle. You got this weird doll. You threw
Hmm.
something out. Now it keeps making its way back in the house. What do
Yeah.
you do?
Man, I think like Insidious, like that's probably like one of my favorite films
Yeah.
in that style.
Yep.
It's not so much of the place, it's like you yourself are haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And like you
Mm-hmm.
you you have a devil or however you want to put it on
Something
your
is not
back.
yeah, exactly. Something is not right with you. Like
Yeah.
something is not right.
You in trouble.
Word. Word. Something is not right.
And like, I mean, yeah, dude, I totally watched those. Uh, and what's crazy is uh, I've interviewed someone who performs like these exorcisms, and
Really?
like he showed like a lot of them were videoed, and he was like, I can show you some of these exorcisms I perform. I have it on video, and I'm gonna tell you, Hollywood, uh, they ain't far off. Like I have seen that
Word.
ugly black vomit. I have seen like the neck twist. I have seen the eyes roll back. Like, dude,
Oh, damn.
he has seen and experienced some wild stuff. But like even like when we watch that on a film, I think it is that kind of psychological. Is like, man, one, I think we're fascinated by it, and two, it's almost like that could never happen to me or somebody I love.
Exactly. I was exactly gonna say that. It's one of those things where it's like it fascinates you to the point of like, oh wow, but it doesn't fascinate you to the point of you can bring it into reality and say, hey, this could actually happen, like you said, to somebody I love, or no,
Hmm.
like this is just fantasy. Like this, it wouldn't really, really happen. Like, oh, that wouldn't really, really happen.
Yeah, that happens over there to somebody else that I don't know. It
Exactly.
does
Like,
it
yeah,
it
that
doesn't.
it won't affect me ever.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what I've heard it from people before who tell me they don't watch scary movies like that because they believe that
It opens
watching
up.
stuff like that, it opens a portal and it can bring it into your area and stuff like that and bring it into
I've
your
I've
space.
watched a couple of films. There was I think Insidious 2 or 3 kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies like that. Like after the film
The
was over
second
at
one was kind of creepy. The first
I
one, I was like, when the dude jumped out the cabinet, I was like, oh yeah, what the fuck? No, nope, nope, no,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, dude. But like after Insidious 2, like and it kind of lingered for a couple of hours, but I just even though I was home alone, like I just felt like there was something in the rooms with me,
It felt
you know?
weird. It felt
Yeah.
really weird. Okay.
I was
Yep.
I had the creeps, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have had that after a few movies. Have you watched the Conjuring series?
I have
Like,
seen The Conjuring. I haven't watched them all.
okay, the Conjuring, the first one, I would definitely say was the best one. The second one, it's not worth watching. But the Conjuring series is with the Annabelle series. It all relates into one.
Don't it start with the nun, if I'm not mistaken?
No, it starts with the Conjuring, and I
Okay.
think the Nun comes after. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me, but it might
Yeah. But
start
they're
with
all
the Nun.
connected, right?
Yep, yep, definitely. I've seen the Nun. I've seen bits and pieces, but the one that was scariest was the Curse of La Llorona. It came
I
with
ain't
the
even heard
whole
of that.
series. It's on like HBO Max. If you Google the Conjuring series, you'll see it starts from the Conjuring up and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but I've heard a couple of people say like, "Nah, I'm not gonna watch that. Like, I can't watch stuff like that. It just something feels weird after I watch it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I can definitely
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from with that one.
I
It just leaves that sense in the air, like something's not
wanted
right."
to talk to you about the bonsai trees, man, for a minute. And I'll tell you this, like someone recently bought me a plant. I'm not sure what kind it is, but I keep it at work. Somebody at work got it for me after my dad passed away. And so I like keeping it there with me in my office and, water it and tend to it and watching it grow. And like every time I, look at it or I'm tending to it, I think about my dad and I was like, what a thoughtful gift. And I always like thought it was a little ridiculous, like when it come to a plant or like something inanimate, even though it's not. It's very much alive and it's kind of wild, man. Like, how did you get into bonsai trees?
Well, first, I'll definitely want to tell you my condolences for your dad.
Yeah, I think he did.
Um, I got into plants from my grandmother. My grandmother passed last year. So, uh, growing up in New York, most people can imagine what New York looks like. It's a concrete jungle. My grandmother wasn't born in America. So, my entire half of the backyard, obviously, everything is a square from the lots that the houses are built. The
Hmm.
entire back of my backyard that made the back perimeter was a garden. So it was tomatoes to kale to collard greens to squash.
Oh,
Everything was
wow.
grown in the backyard. So she literally, I would go out in the backyard after school and help her do stuff or cut this, or I got to dig up these potatoes. And it's like, I'm making mashed potatoes tonight. So the horticulture thing really came from
Uh,
my grandmother.
Farm to table, literally, dude.
In the backyard in Brooklyn. Like we had a cherry tree that hung over the entire backyard. They planted it when my mother was probably 4 or 5. So obviously in my lifetime, it took over the whole backyard. So the backyard was shaded in the summertime because New
Oh,
York summers get like 100 degrees. They get really hot. And remember, all the houses are brick. So
oh,
it
dude. Yeah.
gets
I mean, like you said
hot.
it, concrete jungle. I mean, you basically got just
Yeah,
a concrete oven and it's just cooking
hot.
everybody.
And I remember a lot of the places up there are not built with central AC, like central AC was a newer concept, not
Hmm.
when houses were built back in the 20s in New York. So the house I grew up in was a store and they bought it and converted it into a house. So the size of the backyard, the horticulture thing, my grandmother had a lot of plants inside, outside. Um, on the top of the house was a porch area, but it led off into the other building and it was full of plants. So part of my responsibility was like watering the plants after school and stuff. Like I would get the key, open the gate, open the door to the window, because all the windows are like locked and gated in New York. So open the window, open the key, put a thing, water the plants, put it back, stuff like that. So
Man, little
as
responsibility, young age, man. That's cool. And
and
like
it
you
was
you saw the fruit of your labor, real time.
Yeah, but I never thought about it, man. It was just like I know when I get home, my grandmother's about to start cooking and stuff. She's gonna open the windows. I know she's gonna tell me get some water, do the plan. So if I do it now, I can go play with my toys and I can tell her I already did it.
Yeah.
Done, easy out the way. But as I got older, I just I always had a thing for plants. So different apartments, I just plants. Um, my uncle, my mom's brother, was in the military and he was in the Navy. He lived over in Japan for roughly over 8 years. When he moved back to New York, when they came back to the States, he brought his wife back, who was fully Japanese, and she brought her culture back. She brought back bonsai trees.
Uh-huh.
So they were in the house. So I would see her, just do whatever she was doing with them and, just watering them. I'd see her clipping them, stuff like that. And I was a kid, so I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But as I got older, living in New York, going to Chinatown, different places in New York, I was like, oh, wow, where do they have bonsai trees? Like, oh, those are so beautiful. So as I got older, it was just kind of an aspiration. And I went to an auction one time and they auctioned off one. I was like, shit, I can buy that. Nobody's going to bid on that. I can buy that. I know I
Hmm.
can buy it. So it just kind of started a little bit from there. And just kind of started growing as a little bit of a hobby, more or less. It was another form of art for me. It was living art versus me putting my art on paper. This was living art, and it's living
Yeah.
art through centuries of a culture that is so far from my culture. It just transformed into started collecting and had a few and then ended up getting more. And then while I lived in Florida, I actually had bonsai trees at my mom's house. I would have to call her on a watering schedule, like, hey, I'll be up there in a couple weeks. I need you to water them and whatnot. And I'll be go months at a time. Like, Ma, you water my trees.
I need you
She
to
didn't
hook
like
me
it.
up right now.
Yeah, she didn't like it. She's like, no, I didn't water them. I'm like, why did you water them? They need water.
Ah, man. And I'll tell you, dude, like when it comes to culture like that, I mean, I'm I've probably been obsessed with it for 25 years, man. Like I love the manga comics. I like anime. I like uh the bonsai trees, the culture, man. Like if you put on The Last Samurai or Ronin or anything of that,
Word.
anything like that, dude, you got
Yeah.
me. I'm about to hang out for a minute.
I mean, this is one of those things where the Japanese culture has become so involved in the culture of a lot of people. People don't really realize it. Like, I've always had a love of Japanese culture, aside from obviously my uncle living in Japan. I'm an artist. So growing up, I watched all the manga comics. I watched Dragon Ball Z.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
this is before my uncle even got back, and it's just like I was already fascinated in it. So to start to have it indoctrinated in my house a little bit, like nobody had to follow any specific rules of Japan, but I was interested, in what she was, do and like out the way she dressed. It was the same way I was seeing comics. I was the same way I was seeing like the stuff I would watch. Then my
Hmm.
uncles, they came back with swords, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is everything, So
Yeah.
it sparked something in me, especially when it came to my artwork. It, you know, really took a toll on my artwork as far as just the lifestyle of everything. And then when I started tattooing, obviously that was the prime of everything. Who does not think of when it comes to tattoos, Asia,
I
Asian
mean,
culture?
it's the most iconic.
Think about it. What
Hmm.
other set of people walk around with full body set tattoos?
Probably Samoans, but those
And where's
Mongolians,
Samoa?
but that's Asian culture.
All
But and
Asian, exactly.
I would even consider Samoans to be more Asian Pacific.
Asian,
Yeah.
exactly, in the Pacific. So yeah, it's one of those things where it really took a major highlight on me. So it being and living in New York at the same time when I really started to get big into my tattoo career and stuff like that. Think about it. It's the mecca of everything. So you have a lot of different styles and stuff blended.
Oh, it's you have like every creed, every color, every community, it's all represented there. I mean, dude, I was
Yep.
listening to a podcast this morning and they were talking about New York City and they were talking about the idea of community and like just how different it was when they moved. They was like I just thought that's how everywhere was. You had Chinatown, you had Little Italy, you had Ireland, you had uh everything, like every country that you could think of. You had Ethiopians, you had,
Represented in
all.
one city.
Hmm.
And it's this
And
camaraderie aspect of it. It's just like, whoa, everywhere is together but not separated. You know,
yeah, it's just a melting pot.
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I
So,
mean, I think you nailed it when it came to the art, dude. Like, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that you used to do tattoos. I thought it was all just visual arts and graphic design.
ah, a lot of my tattoos, I don't know if you see, let's just say the lower half of my body. I've did a lot of my tattoos myself, man.
Oh, really? Dude,
Yeah,
next time we're hanging out, you have to show me. I had no idea, brother.
I've tattooed myself, tattooed my wife. Yeah, man, I stopped because Bree was pregnant and just the pandemic, everything was going on. I wasn't at a shop in Georgia, and my shop that I did start going to, that my family owns in Georgia, I got banned from there because they were so afraid of like what was going on with the pandemic. Bree was pregnant, so they were like, "You can't come here now because you could get something and take it to her.
Hmm.
Now you can't come here until we figure out what's going on." I'm like, "Wait, what?" It was like, "You are the only family member here who has a pregnant family member. You now can't come here." So like all of the tattoos I was in the process of getting stopped, like everything. It was like
Oh
a
man,
whole
like,
fiasco. And I was like, I have clients that I'm gonna bring there recently to get tattooed. They're like, nope, no more tattooing for you. Well, not here at least. They're like, if we
mm,
find out that you're tattooing, we're gonna come take all of your machines. I'm like, damn. So I had to stop because they were like, it's just not safe. Because you think about I'm around blood, I'm around like exposed skin, I'm around random people like you. With the pandemic at the beginning of it, you just did not know. So it was like,
yeah,
if we find out that you tattooed anybody, I will take your machines. No more tattoo for you. Bye bye. All done.
dude, man, you become a father, lost a job, and moved during a pandemic, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the same time, I was still working at the hospital in Georgia. So when on my off time, I would hit the shop, I would tattoo, I would get some stuff done. But when it all hit immediately, they were like, everybody was like, no, do not tattoo. It's not safe. You're meeting up with random people. God knows what's going on. So, and then my job just randomly said, hey, we're going to pay you to be out of work for 5 months.
That whole thing. I remember late 2019, Wuhan, China, and there was this, oh, it's pretty bad, but we're probably all right. And then next thing you know, it had a little outbreak in Europe, and then it hit Washington State. And
Europe
like,
hit, like you said, that was November in
yeah,
China. Europe hit like December ish. And I
uh-huh.
know exactly what you're talking about. I
And
know
like
exactly
it's
what you're
almost
talking
like
about.
that horror film thing that we were talking about. Be like, dude, that's some over there thing. We're totally okay.
Dude, let
You
me
know?
ask you this. Have you ever seen the show? I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you
No,
ever seen the show Containment on Netflix?
I have not. I'll check that out.
Okay. There's a show called Containment, and it was literally COVID. I think it's another movie. It's another movie with Lawrence Fishburne. It's called Contagion.
I've seen that.
Okay. Contagion was COVID. The way
Hmm.
they went about that movie, if you look at how they did the whole movie, it was fully COVID. And there's a show called Contagion that came out and it took place in Atlanta. The movie came out, I would say 2018. Um, I remember that because the show came out somewhere around 2018. I remember that because Bree and I were in like, I think that was our first apartment. And we watched the entire series and was just like, that seems too realistic. Like, that's crazy. And she was like, that's going to happen at some point. So by the time COVID hit, it went off of Netflix. And I was like, what was that movie that we were watching? There was a movie
Uh,
like
you got
they corded
Mandela affected.
everything in. I was like, there's a movie we were just watching. And we ended up finding it. I was like, yo, this is the movie. This is what's going on right now. And it just went away. But it randomly came back to Netflix in like I think 2022 or early
Yeah,
2023. And a bunch of people were like, oh, if you've never seen the movie Contagion, watch the movie. I'm like,
yeah.
no, 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 no. This movie came out a long time ago. They prepared you for this.
Mhm.
Like it was a full on situation. I was just like, nah, man,
That's
something's
wild,
not right
man.
about that movie. You gotta check it out. Like if you watch it, you will see what I'm saying. It was the exact same protocols as COVID,
Well,
same
dude, I'm crossing
hospital
my
restrictions.
fingers on Independence Day and Will Smith, dude.
I
I want
mean,
that.
hey, I've seen a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna call it a conspiracy theorist, but I just look at it like this. There's no way this one planet in the entire solar system has the only intelligent life form. It's a very selfish thought. I'll put it that way. Because to say, obviously, well, if you say people don't live on the sun because it's too hot, that makes sense. But that's to say, if people lived on Mars or Mercury, there's nobody that lives on Earth. Sounds
True.
funny. It sounds
Well,
funny. It sounds far fetched, but at the same time, it's a very selfish thought to say we are the only intelligent life form in an entire galaxy or the entire space,
maybe
universe,
I could
whatever.
maybe understand like solar system, sure, but like with everything from the Hubble telescope, like even that they're peering off into other solar systems and different galaxies. I mean, you can't tell me that there's not another Earth or something
And
very
exactly,
similar.
like it's very far fetched to say we are the only life form or any type of intelligent being, whatever you want to call it, in the entire solar system or other solar systems. Like, have you ever seen a movie Interstellar?
Yeah,
Okay.
Matthew
I think,
McConaughey.
yes, I think that was a great depiction for people of it may not be realistic, but this is what could be type of thing. Like that planet he went to where 1 hour on that planet was 7 years on Earth.
Yeah, he was at
It's
dog years.
exactly, it's just so far, it's hard to make that distinction to say, hey, this is so far fetched, it's not true. And it's just like, well, how do you know? Like,
Well, I mean, like the entire way that we base time, think about it. We base it off of rotation around the sun, and then like the way that we
exactly.
the construction of time as we know it. I mean, like you can talk about time being relative, or you can talk about time being concrete, but like that does open up like a window. It's like,
I mean,
well,
it's
a
time.
day here is 7 years, but I mean, what does that mean? You know,
It's
it's
time. It's
yeah.
it could be future, past tense, or present tense.
Mhm.
It's a very wide range of speculation.
Yeah, I think that's always interesting when you stop looking at time as being linear and it like actually has a lot more axes to it rather than
Hmm.
past, present, and future. But there's
Exactly.
there's other intersections of it.
Dude, we're gonna watch Interstellar. We're gonna have a movie date.
Oh, let's do it. We'll
We're
do
gonna
a
have a
watch
movie date.
along.
Definitely watch a movie. Watching Interstellar.
Yeah, dude, I'm with that. Well, man, getting back into tattoos. That's incredible, dude. Like, I might have to get you to, I might have to get one from you, dude.
Let me know, my man. Let me know. Consider some shops out here. It's not a lot of options for, just creativity, I would say. I've seen one or two shops out here. They just kind of seem like there's a run of the mill basic, it's just a basic tattoo shop. And I feel like with stuff like that, you kind of get stuck in just that mundaneness of, well, I'm a tattoo artist and I'm here, Some people don't know what it's like to be in the tattoo world. It's like being a barber almost. You just don't work at a tattoo shop. You don't go there every day and I'm here and I'm just gonna tattoo all day. People don't know you have to come up with different ideas. You have to sketch out different media to be tattooed for people to want,
Mhm.
or the biggest thing that people don't realize is you have to pay for your booth. It's like being a hairstylist. somewhere or being a barber. You might have that booth in that shop, but you have to pay the owner of the shop to rent
Yeah.
that booth,
Hmm.
so if you're in a place where, like here, like let's just be honest about it, who's really here getting a lot of tattoos? Like a lot of people, like, hey, daily in and out, the tattoo shop is booming, like in and out
Hmm.
24/7. I'm getting tattoos, I'm getting piercings. Tattoos and piercings are for the younger generation. We don't really live in an area where it's like a lot of the younger generation in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out,
That's true.
especially here. So you'll
Well,
go
I mean,
somewhere.
and just to the tattoo culture, like not to call any out by name, but just people within the Golden Triangle that I know who have shops and they tattoo. I remember years ago that they were so hungry and fired up that they would go to like tattoo cons
Yep,
and like
conventions and stuff. Yep.
they were going to conventions and they were putting their artwork up against other tattoo artists all over the country and winning awards. And just all of a sudden, like, what happened to that fire? Like I used to be like so inspired and I actually wanted I wanted your work on my body, but now it's like you're lackluster, like you lost the fire somehow.
I don't think they lost the fire, man. I think it's just
That
the
mundaneness,
spotlight.
maybe?
Nah, that spotlight's not on the area, so it's not pushing that drive. Like
Okay.
it's just not an area. Now I can't speak for everybody. Like that's just me saying from what I've seen from an outside person moving
Yeah,
into an
sure.
area like this. It's like, not to say you don't have that drive, but it's just not that pressure. Like it's not that pressure to say like, I have to keep modifying my creativity to stay relevant. Like I have to keep pushing what I know and what has made me and got me to where I am to stay relevant. And that happens to a lot of artists. That's not one single person. That's not one single shop. Any artist living in the shop, not living in the shop, working in the shop, will have that moment sometimes where you get that creativity block where it's just like, bro, I'm not drawing shit. Excuse my French. Well,
Hmm.
I'm not in for it right now. But to be able to keep that lifestyle living, because like I said, every day you have a bill. You have a bill at the end of the
Yeah,
month, or
rent's
however your
due.
shop does it. Rent is due for that chair that you tattooing people out of.
Hmm.
So you have to be able to find that drive in yourself to really be like, yo, I have to keep pushing through it. Because it's like sometimes you might feel like, yo, I'm doing something new. And it's like, well, everybody say there's nothing new under the sun. So it's like I might be creating the most new and innovative thing, and it might work out for you for a minute, and then somebody might take it from you, do it better, and it's like, you got to recreate yourself and find that drive to
Yeah,
keep it going. But when a
I
place
did.
like this, I definitely see that. It's just like, man, I don't see it tattoo prospect wise. Like I West Point, I went out to Coon Tattoo to meet
Hmm.
the people out there, and I was just like, like this is not a very I'm in here type of thing. Like
Yeah, man. We talked a bit about art. I wanted to see your feelers on this. Is man, there's a certain feeling that comes over me like when I finish a song and I know it's done. It has to feel the same way as like when a comedian is able to come up with the perfect setup for the closing joke, or maybe like what is that feeling when you finished a really good piece of art? Like, do you see what I'm kind of saying? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
especially
it's
like,
just I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Keep going, keep going.
and it's like, man, it's just like, and also I think about like, who did I do it for? And I've I have totally quit trying to have like some kind of a muse when it comes to the art or the form of it. Uh, Maybe it's selfish, but man, I've just lately, like for the past couple of years, I've been just doing things for me. And if other people happen to like the way I describe something or the way that I phrase something, we connected. But like I don't really have something in mind that I'm kind of musing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I got you. I definitely got you on that one. Let's see. Mm, I would say when a piece is finished to me, I mean, something's never really finished. And you can always go back and add like one or two things, especially because everything I do is visual.
Hmm.
Um, Music wise, it's a little different for you. I'm not musically inclined at all. I have family members who are, but I am not musically inclined, not even a little bit. So it's a little bit different for your
I believe
recording
your oldest is
process.
going to be.
He might be. He definitely might be. I had a
He's
drum set not
interested.
too long ago.
Like,
Not
I
bad,
mean,
bro.
I saw him at like last we met at Munson's. Like, it happened two or three times. I mean, his eyes and like his full attention was on that guitar.
And the piano. He got him
Uh-huh.
a drum set not too long ago, but the piano, he definitely likes the piano. He played the one I think out in West Point that's outside, that purple one.
Yeah.
It still works. He got to play it. He was like, "Whoa, this makes noise." And I was like, "Man," because I grew up with a grand piano in my house upstairs. My grandparents had got it years before I was born. They made my aunt learn how to play it to make it obviously not go to waste. So I was just like, man, if you could play a piano, my mom would probably be happy because God knows I cannot play that thing. I just bash on the
Yeah.
keys for fun. But yeah, when he goes to Munson, he sees that piano. He's just like, I'm going on that stage.
He's
I'm
fired
gonna
up.
be up there. Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised. But
Yeah.
back to the question, man. I don't know. I It's just it's not to say it's a feeling that you get. I just can't find the specific word to say I see it where I don't know what else to do to this now to bring it into my vision. Because everything I
Uh,
draw, I see it. So I see it
yeah.
as I'm gonna finish it. But once it's to that point, I can't say it's fully finished because I always find ways to go back and just edit this thing. I might edit that thing. I might just put a little bit of touches into here. I might put a little bit of touches into there. It's this feeling that you get where it's just like I want this to be heard, not even seen. I want you to hear this. Like I want it to resonate through your hearing, not your visuals.
Yeah.
I want this to speak to you. Like I want you to feel it, like deep. And
Hmm.
once all of the I'd say the details are in, and it's where I want it to be. It's just like I want somebody to feel this, and I want a
Yeah.
critique on it. I want somebody to say something, and how you feel about it could lead me to. Nah, I'm gonna take this back off, and I'm gonna work on this, or I'm gonna edit this, or if you tell me, hey, this piece resonated with you and it felt dark. If I had a different notion to it, I'm gonna go in and now I'm gonna switch different things up. Like, man, I don't want you to have that feeling toward it. If you have that feeling, somebody else might have that feeling. So let me go in and it's like
And
it's never really done.
yeah. I mean, that's something I like when I have musicians on. I like asking them, and every answer is different. I'll ask, when is a song finished? And like I think each song is finished in different places, but to an effect, I kind of feel like Bob Dylan's or some of the guys from Ode to where I mean, I was at a Bob Dylan show last year and there were these younger guys down in front of me and he had gotten halfway through uh some of his bigger songs that people know, like Shot the Sheriff or whatever else. And
Mm-hmm.
like they left. They were frustrated because it wasn't, I guess, what they heard on the radio. Like the song had grown and the way that he performed it live has changed over the years. Like it just don't
Yeah.
hit him the same way it used to. And I was like, I was taken back by it, like artist to artist, but I could tell like the guys down in front of me who were frustrated were like they wanted it the way that they knew it. But I
Yeah,
see and
man.
I
Because
understand both
the
sides of it.
artist grows, man. Like it's
Yeah.
it's I'm not the same artist I was 20 years ago who recorded the song or who painted this picture. It's grown. Like not I've grown, the piece in itself of art has grown and it's
Hmm.
attracted different, feelings of different people.
And I mean, I've had that happen to me. Like, I've had bands that I grew up with, such as like Incubus. I haven't been real crazy about like the past couple of albums that they put out, but I'm still an Incubus fan. But like to what you're saying, they grew and they outgrew me. I'm not where they are right now. Maybe I'll catch up with them later. Maybe I
Yeah,
won't.
yeah,
But I still have the albums that I grew up with and loved, and I still cherish and listen to that, you know?
hell yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's about evolving. I think one major thing about art is it evolves. It's not just what you start out with. Like for instance, me getting back into the tattoo world, I'm not going to be the same tattoo artist, or my work is not going to be the same work that it was shit back in 2013. Like that was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Like 2014, I was
Yeah.
that
10
was a
years.
long time ago. Like I'm not gonna be that same artist. I might have a different aspect in how I like to do things, or you might have a different aspect of how you like to play a guitar versus how you did in 2014, 2012.
Hmm.
I think it's all about when people don't realize they get caught up in the product versus the producer.
Hey,
Like, you feel me? Like I don't think they see the growth of the person more so. They think more about what you did for them, like a song or a piece of artwork. This resonated with me in that time period. I am not that person now in that time period.
yeah,
So,
that's a good way of putting it.
like I've progressed. Like life has progressed. I'm putting out what has progressed.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's do three questions walking out the door. Next time I get up with Shane, we're gonna get you back on the horn.
Yo, no doubt. I spoke to him earlier, seeing how he was doing. He's doing pretty good. I'm definitely glad he's doing pretty good, man.
Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to him.
I
But
gotta go get on his nerves one of these days.
yeah, no kidding. Let's do it together.
I'm gonna bring the Civic like I did last time. I revved it up outside his house.
That's you gotta do it.
Yeah, couldn't help myself.
Gotta let the W know too.
Okay. I don't think his neighbors were too happy. Hopefully, didn't give him too hard of a time.
Well, dude, if there's anything that you would like to plug, or the socials or where people can kind of stay involved with your artwork, uh, would you like to plug your socials for that?
Yeah, man. Excelius Art. Tag me in it. I'm also on Instagram. I have a lot of new projects coming out, so I'm in a major revamp of the website just to be able to master certain things that I'm coming out with. But yeah, stay in contact with me, man. I'm here in Columbus. You know where I'm at.
Hmm.
Want to meet up? Meet me at Munson. That's the place to be.
Right on. Question two, man. You mentioned going up to outskirts of Atlanta to hike. Is there a national park or somewhere that you would like to go that you haven't had the opportunity to go to yet that comes to mind?
Ah, no. Off the top of my head, I can't say. Places that I haven't been that I want to go. They are a lot further from Georgia. They're on the
Out
Appalachian
west.
Trail toward no, they're toward North Carolina. Couple parks
Oh.
out west I definitely want to go to. I will give them a shout out because I have not been yet, and I definitely want to go. Yellowstone, Yellowstone National Forest, Yucatan. Yeah, definitely two places I want to check out. Haven't had the opportunity to go just because it's not something you can do in a weekend. You have to actually like really plan it.
I had a
Make
buddy.
sure
He
we do.
went out west. He took his girl with him. I think they had some friends getting married, maybe out in Colorado, but they headed south afterwards down through different national parks, went to the Grand Canyon, and like basically he rigged and bought everything for his Toyota 4Runner at this time to, I mean, they just lived in the 4Runner and they stayed at these different national parks and they did a Western National Park tour. And I was like, I don't know if it'll happen in 2024, but 2025,
Dude, it's
I want to take about 2 weeks and go do
it's
that.
so possible. It's so possible. And funny that you mentioned a forerunner. Uh, I had been looking to buy a car for the longest because everybody knows during the pandemic the price of cars just went up
Oh
like
my gosh, dude.
exponentially, man. It was ridiculous. So Bree and I, the one car that we wanted was a Forerunner. There's so many possibilities with that car. It's ridiculous. I have a friend of mine who
The
literally,
Ford Bronco's that way too.
yeah, but it's
Not the
too
same.
new. It's
Yeah.
too new. The Forerunner is a long-standing thing.
Tried and true.
Exactly. Like it's not gonna. You're not gonna go wrong with it, and you can find parts anywhere.
He totaled that thing out, and you'll like this story, especially when it comes back to your alligator. They were coming back from that trip. They were in Louisiana. He was asleep, and his girl was driving. And big commotion. The truck went off the road. They hit a black bear,
Oh,
and
not
it
cool.
it it jacked that vehicle up.
Oh yeah, black bears are very big animals. They're bigger than a 600-pound person. Not okay.
But yeah, tried and
Total,
true. And I
total.
think if they had somebody different to look at the vehicle, like the insurance guy or whomever came out and looked, it probably could have been salvaged. I was like,
Nah, man, that's
it's a Toyota. Come on.
that's frame damage, man. That's frame damage. You hit a bear or something like that. That's frame damage.
It wasn't like a
It's
direct
over.
hit. It like front right and like was
Ah,
pushing. Yeah, but you,
give
you're
me just
probably onto something.
give me a new one. Just give me a new one. I don't want
But
bear parts in mine.
he ended up better, dude. He upgraded to like the Lexus version, so he's highballing.
Ah, he abandoned it. Well, no, he didn't abandon it because Lexus is owned by
It's
Toyota.
yeah, it's the fancier version.
It's a fancy version. But yeah, I had a friend who took the back seats out and air mattressed it in the back.
That's what they did. Yeah.
So it was like a full on conversion to the whole back. I was like,
And they
that's
did something
pretty
with
damn
the
cool.
back glass where they had this tube and it was almost like air conditioning for the vehicle while it wasn't running. Like
Oh, word.
it was like water, like it's like snorkeled up and over and it would sit. You put cold water up and like it would like blow
Condense the
cool
fan down.
air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's pretty cool. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Excuse my French.
Man,
That's
you're
pretty
good.
cool. That is
Yeah.
actually pretty cool. That's something to
Yeah.
look into, man.
Hey, I mean there's some great ideas out there, dude.
No, that's pretty cool. Shit. I'm in the process of I really want to get an RV. Been thinking about it for the last year or so. I want anything crazy. Just something comfortable, something small, something comfortable.
I thought about a teardrop for years. You've outgrown a teardrop now, but uh, those little teardrops are cool, dude. You know what I'm talking about?
The wind up ones where you can crank it.
No, it's like an RV, but yeah, it's like that, and you hook. It don't have a bathroom in it, but like it's shaped like a teardrop, and it
Yeah,
would.
like the old school metal ones. Like
Hmm.
yeah, one of those. Yeah, I can't stand up on one of those. I can't.
Yeah,
I've been in one. I can't stand up.
I've been in one, and that was my only issue. I was like, but it would be nice just to like crawl in and to sleep. But I was like, it does kind of. It ain't like some airstreams I've been in.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in the Airstream too. The I was a little too tall for the one I had been in.
Yeah,
Like I think I would need an upgraded one, a little bit of like a height clearance. But I like the ones that kind of have the attachment to the truck where you can just drive it
yeah, you
versus
can
having
pull
to
it.
attach it to some. No, not pull it.
Oh,
You can
drive.
just
Oh, yeah, actually
drive
driving it.
it. Yeah, but not the giant ones, where it's a whole
Yeah.
tractor trailer foot long of a giant square bus. Like the old school ones back in the day, they have like little camper that hangs over the top of the head.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of the 80s, 90s ones, something like
It's
that.
almost like a full blown U-Haul truck.
Okay, yes, exactly. With the
Yeah,
whole little
yeah,
bit that sticks over the head. Something
yeah,
comfortable like that. I've always thought those were kind of cool.
yeah,
Versus like the giant, spaceship driving down the road, 60 feet long.
yeah. That's a bit much.
Yeah, I don't want to drive a tractor trailer. I don't have a CDL. And I don't want one.
Mm-mm. Well, dude, last question walking out the door. It is a softball. What was your favorite part of this conversation?
Ha! Favorite part of this conversation. Hmm. Didn't know you lived in so many places. I would
Yeah,
say that's my favorite part. Pretty interesting. Didn't know you lived between Tuscaloosa here and all of that
college
good stuff.
years, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Favorite
brother,
part. Oh,
yeah.
my bad. I was gonna say
No, go
second
ahead. Go
favorite
ahead.
part. Just getting to catch up, man. Haven't talked to you in a minute. Last time we got to see each other was over at Munson. We're just two dudes out here just working a lot, man. Just bouncing between work and trying to keep my heads afloat. So I would say the favorite part of my conversation with you was just here to hang out, man. Haven't seen you in a minute.
Same, brother. Well, you are welcome.
I appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate you having me on.